Okay, so yeah, should be recording now, hopefully. So yeah, today is going to be a little bit different in what we're going to be doing, and I'm going to be showing off all of my character builds and all of the games that I play. So I'm going to be starting with Starrel, and I'm not only going to be showing the builds, but I also want to show, like, some other stuff about my accounts just to kind of show the state of them, and also kind of talk about what I'm doing currently and planning to do with the accounts with like future pools and things like that. So yeah, I kind of do these semi regularly, but maybe trying to get them done at the end of the year would be a good way of doing it. So I think I'm gonna try that at least starting this year. I think the last one I did was like August of last year, but I might be wrong. I'll have it linked in the description of whenever I did this last, because I have done this before. And I'm also going to do one for Chaos Zero Nightmare. But I wanted to start with Star Rail and then move on to either Zenless or Genshin, one of those two. I'll save Chaos Zero Nightmare for the end. And then whichever one I don't do out of those two, I'll do the other one after. But yeah, I thought I'd just stand here in this spot for the Star Rail one, because this area was really cool. But yeah, starting off, I have quite a few characters. As far as the built characters go, I mean, Jui's like kind of built, but shares relics. So there's not really like a good indicator of which characters I have actually built or not. Like the stars kind of help a little bit, but yeah, most of my starred characters should be pretty decently built. So I guess we'll just move on from left to right. So start off with Hyacine. My Hyacine is not particularly great, but passable. I have like decent stuff. I haven't really farmed very much specifically for Hyacine, but I have farmed the area for her relics and stuff quite a lot for Saber, but these are like the best pieces I've gotten from both farming for her and for Saber stuff. So yeah, tried to get as much speed as I can, really. Speed and HP percent. I don't really care about her damage output too much. It's already pretty high. I do have her signature. No Eidolons. But yeah, if you want to see each individual piece again, just to specify. There. So yeah, all the traces are maxed out. I use Hyacine quite frequently and like everything, so pretty much best healer in the game. Probably best character in the game, at least in my opinion, so yeah. Next up, we've got Castorice, who I would say is my main at this point. Here are all of the stats there. I don't know if I showed that with Hyacine, but there wasn't anything that you would find out of place from a regular Hyacine build there, so I do have her signature as well. All traces maxed out, and she has some of my better relics in terms of like the overall rolls, but I think my Cyrene probably has the best rolls of any of my characters. But yeah, E0, S1. Pretty much all my characters are E0, S1. There's only two that have Eidolons that are limited units at least. But yeah, and I'll show them when I get there. For Evernight, I do think my Evernight build's pretty good. I do use Ice Orb on Evernight. I have her signature. I've got all of her traces maxed out. And then for the individual pieces, I do think my rolls are not too bad, but there could definitely be some improvements on a lot of them. No Eidolons, but if I do get Eidolons for a limited unit, it would probably be Evernight. I'd probably go for E2. Outside of the ones that I have. So, yeah, that's the Evernight build, and then Cyrene, final person on the main team. My Cyrene build is still not great, but I do think I have some of my better relics on my Cyrene, just because I used the relic event on getting better relics for her, and also crafted some myself, so yeah, some of the ones that I crafted and farmed myself are better than the ones from the relic event. But my goal right now is to try to get Cyrene to 200 speed. She's kind of the main person that I'm focused on building. Although I'm taking a little bit of a break from building her to build Cipher, but I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, no Eidolons. And yeah, now for Cipher, I am working on building my Cipher just because I really only need like 3 speed and a little bit of crit rate, and then my Cipher build is done. As you only need 50% crit rate and 170 speed to be able to get her trace here, give you a lot of extra crit rate and stuff. So yeah, currently I just stole my pieces from my Dr. Ratio build and put it on my Cipher, but I have been trying to farm some stuff for her and craft some stuff. Yeah, she's my most recent limited unit that I pulled, so I am working on farming her. I'm also trying to pull her signature while it's here, but I'm okay with skipping it because I do think this one's pretty good, although her signature is pretty strong, so I would really like to try to get it, but I'm not going to top up for it or anything. Daneng, one of my more recently built characters. Yeah, I use them occasionally and stuff. Got all of his traces maxed out. My relics are pretty bad. They have some of the worst rolls that I've ever gotten on anything, for sure. And I haven't really tried to farm new ones for him or anything because I don't really plan on using him too much, but easier for now. If I need a shielder in certain situations, I could use him or Aventurine. Hysilens, another fairly recent unit for me. Just on Eyes of Prey, max traces. The relic set, this is probably the most farmed relic set in the game for me, and my pieces still aren't great. Yeah, E0, S0. Robin. I do have Robin on 4-piece attack, as in 2-piece attack and 2-piece attack. So that might be a bit different than what some people do. Like, I know some people just run like 4-piece Musketeer. Just because they are farming for like 2-piece attack, or maybe even get like speed or something on Robin or energy stuff. But yeah, I mean, I have Von Wax, so that energy from that. Stuff like that. Let me see what the recommended one is. Yeah, so you might use that one instead. Or yeah, 4-piece Musketeer. And no Eidolons on Robin. I know a lot of people got her E1, but I've never been one to try to get Eidolons for people. So yeah, if anything, me getting the Eidolon on Evernight would be kind of interesting. But yeah, my Fugue, just ignore the light cone because I swapped the light cone around on Cipher to whichever Nihility unit I'm running, so that's the only one I have built. I need to get another copy of that build, but yeah, here are the stats, I guess, with patience is all you need, so do keep that in mind. But maxed out traces, and then 4-piece break effect stuff, and 2-piece more break effect and speed. No Eidolons. Lingsha. I mean, I use the break effect characters whenever break comes up, so they're still usable then. Outside of that, they don't really see too much use. I do have Lingsha's signature, and I think that it's pretty good signature and everything, so I use it quite a lot. It applies a debuff that makes enemies take more damage and stuff, so it's not bad. Although Hyacine also does that. And then Topaz and Numby. I got Topaz's light cone from the shop. I didn't get it initially. I do have it. Over 100% crit rate on Topaz. I need to adjust my Topaz build now that I've got the light cone, is why it's over 100%, because new crit rate there. Yeah, I think my Topaz build is alright. I have a lot of this set, so I just need to figure out which characters need what, because I have a lot of follow-up attack characters, so just need to move it around and fix everything there. But yeah, no Eidolons. I would maybe go for Topaz Eidolons in the future, because I do like Topaz as a character, but I'd rather them buff Topaz before me wanting to like try to get Eidolons and stuff. I think Topaz isn't that bad still, though. when played with Feixiao. That's kind of like the only place you can run her. And
This is Topaz speaking.
E0S1 Cipher might be better than E0S1 Topaz in Feixiao teams. I'm not sure about right now, but probably in the future that will happen. Because right now they're pretty comparable, but Cypher's got a lot of interesting utility that Topaz doesn't have, so I'd be curious to see they compare in the upcoming patches. I do think Cypher is a character that's going to age super well because she's kind of a universal debuffing support. Almost like Tribbie, although Tribbie does buff as well. Cypher just kind of only debuffs, but very interesting character. Himeko, Himeko's like the only non-limited character that I want Eidolons for, but can't get Eidolons. There's all the stats. As far as the light cone goes, I kind of swap around the light cones as well. Most of the time I do run her under signature though, so if you see the stats with that. And yeah, 4-piece of the follow-up attack set and 2-piece that follow-up attack. I mostly run Himeko in break teams now, but you still build crit Himeko whenever playing her in break because she still deals a lot of damage from crits. And then for RMC, apparently I hadn't marked that on PC. I've done it on mobile though. E6, S5 with the Herta Light Cone. I actually don't have their traces maxed because I don't think they're necessary. To be honest, like RMC is still really good, and stuff, but yeah, it's just kind of extra farming. So I kind of put it off and forgot about it. Honestly, I forgot about it until now, so maybe I could farm it in the future. And then Harmony MC does have my Dance Dance Dance, right? Yeah. I have one S5 Dance Dance Dance, and then I have an S1 as well. Although Dance is rerunning on the next banner, so guess keep that in mind if you want to get more copies of Dance 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 on your account. The next Light Cone banner will have it, so. There's that, and then Preservation. I don't think I have built right now. Yeah. Then do I have physical built as well? No, I don't. Okay. Just gonna put them back on the Path of Remembrance. Then Ruan Mei. Kind of an interesting thing happened with my Ruan Mei. I did get her E1 from the shop. So I only have one of the shop things now because I actually spent one on Ruan Mei, so that way I could clear the latest in-game stuff using her. The Anomaly Arbitration. I needed a little bit more damage, and E1 Ruan Mei was enough for me to be able to clear one of the knights, actually. It wasn't even for like the final boss or anything. But yeah, E1, S1. I wouldn't really count her as a limited character with Eidolon because she's in the shop, but I don't know how you categorize that now. I would count her as a limited character if you're like looking at team cost, though. Like if you were to say this is like a 5-cost team or whatever, I would count the E1 as an extra cost, and then the Light Cone as an extra cost, so that would be 3 costs just from having Ruan Mei on a team. And then my Jingliu's E0S1. Oh, I actually do have 4-piece Scholar on. I guess I got a decent set eventually. I remember I farmed it forever and I couldn't really get anything too good. Yeah, I don't know if I showed this, but there's that. And I do use the buffed version, so that's why my HP is so high. And I also use the buffed version of Kafka. She's E0S0, although it's S5 of before the tutorial mission starts, which used to be kind of rare, but now there's a shop for it. And I am on 4-piece Eagle, although my Eagle set's still not super great and stuff. It's fine. Still pretty fast, 152 speed, so. Yeah, there's all of these. My Black Swan shares the same light cone as my Hysilens, so whenever I move them around, the stats change a little bit, but I mean, it's kind of just like a bonus effect change rather than the stats directly. So yeah, then there's all the pieces for her. I think my Black Swan build's pretty bad because I kind of just moved all my Black Swan or my good Black Swan pieces to my Hysilens, and even then, my pieces back then were pretty bad. But yeah, E0, S0. And then Feixiao is E0, S0 with a little bit over 100% crit rate. I do think it's really important that she gets 100% crit rate, so I do try to maintain that much. And yeah, all my rolls on her pieces are pretty good. I don't know if they're the best on my account, but I kind of pulled Feixiao specifically because I was farming the domain where you get this for another character and ended up it was for Rappa actually and ended up getting a ton of good pieces, so I was like, you know what, I'll just pull Feixiao while she's running because she was free running at the time, and that was actually a good idea because she still carries and is really strong and probably will still be just because of the way that her kit works and everything. So one of the more future-proof DPSs in my opinion, just with how like her ult works and stuff. I don't think she's entirely future-proof, but I think that she'll last quite a bit into the new version as a meta character stuff, because she's still currently a really solid meta character, even though there's someone that does more single target damage. I feel like Feixiao is just a lot easier to build and stuff than Archer, because you don't need the sparkle. But yeah, next up is Huohuo. Just running quid pro quo, although sometimes I use another light cone that I'll show. And she's E0, S0. But yeah, sometimes I use this light cone as well. But most of the time I've been just using this one. Either one is just like energy generation and stuff, so it just depends on the situation. And then next up is Saber. Saber's the only character that I actually have Eidolon 2 of, and also an Eidolon 1 outside of Jade. Jade's my other limited character with an Eidolon. But yeah, max traces, does have her signature. Pretty alright build, I would say. Still kind of needs a lot of work and stuff on the pieces, but I've farmed this relic area quite a bit and still haven't really gotten that good of stuff yet, so I probably will go back in the mines for Saber after I finish my Cyrene build, which will then be after I finish my Cipher build. So yeah, kind of still on the priority list of fixing her stuff. I think that she's also going to be one of the more future-proof characters because of how her ult charge works and stuff, and I also have her E2, so or E2S1, so I feel like she should be pretty strong. She's on par with like the current characters and stuff in Amphorius, so I feel like most of the Amphorius characters will probably be around like tier 1 to tier 1.5 at the lowest by the end of the next version. At least for Castorice and Phynon. With characters like Anaxa and the Herda and Maide, they'll probably be like tier 2 characters or something. But I think Castorice and Phynon just kind of deal so much damage that they can be relevant still for a little bit of time. And Phynon has very flexible teams, so I'm not entirely sure about him. So, Castorice is a bit more restrictive, but still has a unique way of charging her ult, so I think that's also really good. Next up is Tribbie. Because I got Cyrene recently, I can kind of use Tribbie in like infinite teams, and it's kind of interesting. But my Tribbie is E0, S1. I know a lot of people go for Tribbie's E1, but I always go for the light cones instead, because I like having the light cones more than having just an Eidolon. Like, if I were to get Tribbie's E1, that could be like something I do in the future, but I would still want to get the light cone first, because I generally try to keep both at the same time. The only character that's not true with is Jade. I have her E1, but it was just because I got it really early in Pity. I use the general calculus, and then here are the relics. And I'll show all the stats at the end. I do run crit rate, just because my crit rate on Jade is super low. So, but she gets a ton of crit damage anyway, so yeah. There's all the stats. And then Archer E0S1, I got his signature from the free thing for doing 200 pulls. So, guess it's not really free, but... And then here's the build. My like highest crit damage piece on my account, that it's not a crit damage main stat. Yeah, is E0. And there's all the other stuff. Silver Wolf, I use the buff, and then I usually run her on either this one or this one, kind of just depending on the situation. But currently she's just holding In the Name of the World because I have like 50 of them. Yeah, there's all the stats. She's E0S0. I could flex the Cipher light cone with her. If I do get that in the future. And yeah, I do use the buffed version because the buffed one is really good. Then next up is Rappa, who is not rerunning next patch. Strangely, it has not had a rerun since the start of Amphoreus, but yeah. Do have her E0S1. Very rare character, I guess, for a lot of people, because a lot of people ended up skipping her initially, but I think that she's really good. Probably the best break character in the game at the moment. Just give it a few days and then that will change, but for now, definitely the best at E0S0. I even think at E0S1 she'll still be competitive with Firefly whenever the Dahlia comes out, but yeah, I guess it remains to be seen just because the Dahlia is kind of just there to be a dedicated Firefly support. Yeah, maybe they'll give Firefly like a Jing Yuan thing where she keeps getting new supports come out and stuff that make her relevant for like 3 patches. But yeah, I guess it will remain to be seen what happens with Super Break in the future. I've kind of heard some interesting things, but yeah, on to Sunday. To not talk about anything spoilery. With Sunday, I do have his signature, just E0S1. I keep my Sunday a little bit slow just to make sure that characters like Saber are faster than him, but I kind of do need to speed up my Sunday, but to speed up my Sunday, I need to speed up my other characters. So, yeah, Aventurine E0S0. Just run that on max traces, and then probably some of my oldest relics that I still use on characters that I use semi-regularly. Just because they're from my Shepard build from like back when I started playing Starwell and stuff. But I mean, they still work fine. About 4,000 defense if you round up, so yeah. Next up is Gallagher, who I actually do use pretty regularly. I either run him on the 4-piece break effect of this one, or I run him on 4-piece speed, as in 2-piece speed and 2-piece speed. But yeah, it kind of depends on what team. Like if I'm playing him in a break team, it'd be the break effect. But most of the time, recently, I've been playing him in like Castorice teams, where you want to use like this light cone. In break teams, you want to use this one here instead. But yeah, it just kind of depends on everything. But I don't have him built at the moment or anything. But he is E6. When I've been, I use occasionally, but I don't have a dedicated build. Just swap around relics. Asta, still no dedicated build. Herda, I actually do have a dedicated build for, so I guess I can show that. Okay, never mind. I saw that there was no relics and thought that was fine. Surely with my Tingyun, yeah, my Tingyun does. Okay, 160 speed. I think there are ways I can get my Tingyun to like 175 speed with 4-piece speed, but I've moved around a bunch of stuff from her, so not really possible now. Serval's someone that I use a little bit. I used her in the recent MOC, for example. I still don't even have her traces maxed out or anything, but yeah, she's actually not that bad in certain situations, but yeah, definitely kind of carried by supports, but you can spam ults with her very easily. I don't think she's like a break character, where you just put her in super break and fees with like the Dahlia. I don't think that would be too good with her, but yeah, she's not too bad with like Tribbie and stuff, especially in pure fiction. So yeah, then my March is still built. Although a lot of the times I use this on March instead of what I'm currently using. It's just I have that on my Archer for now. And then my Preservation March is also built with 4300 defense and S5 Battle Pass Light Cone because I like March. So yeah, I don't really use the Preservation one or the Hunt one that much anymore, but I do have them built. Clara's not built. Yunqing's not built. Blade kind of has a... Oh wait, Jing Yuan actually has a build. But I never really use them. I mean, sometimes I'll just swap like the Erudition light cones around if I do use them in anything, but it's very rare that I use Jing Yuan because I do hate Jing Yuan. Even though he's my first limited character. But yeah, if they buff him directly, then maybe I'll try him again, but they buffed him indirectly for like 50 patches and still super weak characters. So yeah, just don't really use them very much. Blade, I don't really have built yet. I did get him from losing a 50-50 fairly recently. I don't remember which banner it was. I guess it was on Evernight's banner. I was pulling for E1 Evernight to build pity for Cyrene and lost 50-50 or something like that. But yeah, I did start to try to get something built for him, so that way I can maybe get a build in the future, but this is where it's at for now. Bronya, I don't really have a super dedicated build for, but I can kind of just move around some of the speed relics to get something going if I need to. And then I'll just move Dance 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 on her if I play her. Something like that. My Seele is built decently well. I could probably get more crit damage and stuff. I haven't really farmed the Quantum area in quite a while, so could be something I do in the future. It's E0 S1 from the shop. Didn't mean to close that out. Okay, we're on Seele. Feixiao I unbuilt, though I did have him built on what my Cipher is built right now. But yeah, currently unbuilt. And then Welt is currently unbuilt. Is anyone else? No. I will say I occasionally use Wei, and I just move my Rappa pieces on her when I try her out and stuff. That's really the only character down here that I use occasionally. Like the ones past Yukong aren't even level 80 or anything, so you can tell that I never really use them in anything. But yeah, that's where all the stuff is for now, and it looks like I got a random friend request while I'm doing this, so yeah. Let's see, what is this person doing? 35 characters, 64. They recently did the Cosmic Home Decor Guide event. Not an in-game gamer. Doing some occasional currency wars. That has some of the builds I've seen, for sure. Wait, what level are they? 66? Okay, I mean, I guess they're a relatively new player then. So that just makes sense, but yeah. That is all of my character builds done. If you want to see what I have on my profile, this is the characters that I normally display. Currently at 59 characters, 1010 achievements, 111 light cones. I have kind of been slacking on the achievements. I kind of want to take a day and do a ton of achievement hunting and stuff because not only am I slacking on achievement, I also am still missing like a lot of chests and stuff. Like I literally just did a puzzle so it wouldn't be in the background over there. Like right before I started this recording and stuff, so yeah. I've still got a ton of exploration and stuff to do. As far as pull plans go at the moment, I am currently pulling for the Cipher light cone while it's on the banner. I'm around 50 something pity on the light cone banner, and I'm at 0 pity on the character banner because I did just pull Cipher off of the banner. I think I'm at 0 pity on Saber's banner as well. I'm not really planning on pulling any more Eidolons or anything, but I mean I could, depending on how long the banner goes. I'm definitely not going for like E6 Saber or anything, which I think would be really the only reason I would pull anymore, so that's why I'm kind of hesitant on trying to pull for more. I mean, if anything, I might pull for more copies of Archer, because E2 Archer kind of wouldn't be too bad to get, but I mean, even as E1's not bad. Makes it a little bit easier to play him and stuff. But yeah, as far as future pulling plans go, I will be pulling on the Dahlia's banner, but if I get her, that's fine, and if I don't get her, that's also fine. Mostly just waiting on 4.x characters to come out and stuff. I've heard some things, but there hasn't been any like visual of the new characters or names revealed, so I don't really have any plans on anyone particular in the 4.x patch to pull. But if that changes, then I might make a video about it or something. Kind of still need to wait on other information to come out about the characters, like how their kits work and stuff, which that might already be out. I haven't really looked in a while. I usually only start looking at stuff like that around the time of their release, with about like maybe 2 weeks in advance, which still got a while before that point, since the next patch is going to be a little bit long, as the patch has been delayed, so that way they can rework some stuff in the new area. But yeah, that'll give me a chance to explore all of the areas and find all the chests, because I will surely do that 100% for sure, and find all of the little things and do all of the achievements and everything, and definitely will not continue to put them off forever. But yeah, that concludes the Star Rail section, so I'm gonna go get the next game ready and stuff, so yeah. Okay, so yeah, in ZZZ, we're over in Star Loop next to the Astra poster to do the ZZZ section. I did want to mention that I do think my Star Rail account is probably my best account in terms of like account progression and the ability to build characters and stuff, but I would say that my ZZZ account is probably my next best. Even though I've been playing Genshin a little bit longer than ZZZ, I did play ZZZ whenever it came out, unlike with Genshin. So, I've been able to get most of the characters and stuff. There's only like a few that I'm missing. And I actually took like a patch off. Like I didn't play whenever Ruan came out and Jingliu came out. And then I came back whenever Jean banner started. And then I've played pretty much every day since then. I missed like a few days here and there of ZZZ. But I mean, outside of that break, been pretty consistent, and I've very rarely let my energy fill up as well. So that's helped maintain my account and stuff. But yeah, just recently, today, I actually pulled Dai-Lin this morning, or I guess it was kind of this afternoon, while I was doing some dailies and stuff. So I am currently working on building her, but thought I would just, you know, show off all of the character builds and everything of my current ZZZ roster. Now, the pieces for the Rupture characters do move around a little bit here and there, but this should be like the best versions of them that I can make without having to move any pieces around right now. So, starting off with Yidhari, who was my most recently fully built in quotes character. I'm probably going to max out all of her stuff eventually, but I don't really have the little, like, these things here for it. I have 2 for now, but I need to save them for upcoming characters, namely the Void Hunter whenever they come out, because I will max out all of their stuff. But yeah, currently on 4-piece Yunhui Tails and 2-piece Branch and Blade, as well as with Minato's signature. Minato's signature is the best 4-star option, but her signature would be better. And then I think Monato's is actually better than Yuan's on her, just because she doesn't really benefit from like the ether damage or anything. But yeah, as far as the rest of the stats go, they're all right here. And there's the skills. Then next up is Lucia, who I've also got somewhat built and have been building her fairly recently. I kind of just crafted all of her pieces. I wanted her HP to reach the threshold that was around like 20. I think it was like 22,000 or something like that, but now it's up to 25,000 just because that was before I got her signature, but I did end up getting her signature. They pulled quite a bit for it and stuff. Also to try to get the Vivian outfit and stuff. But yeah, was able to get that. Both of these characters are M0, by the way, and then W0 or W1 on Lucia. And my Yuzuha's M0 W0 does have all of the like abilities maxed out and stuff, and it's on 4-piece Astral. And most of the time I use Rena's signature. Probably could improve this build, but it does its job. And then next, one of my best built characters is probably my Chufufu, who is in 0W1. Don't have all of her traces maxed out, but I think still in the top 500 on Internet of Chufufu's builds. So yeah, I do have one of the better builds of her. I use her when I can with like rupture teams and occasionally with attack teams and stuff, but now that I have Dial-In, I do have options and stuff, so that's kind of the nice thing about pulling Dial-In. I wasn't really intending on entirely pulling Dial-In. I was mostly just building pity and kind of hoping I would lose 50-50 because I've won 4 50-50s in a row now. I think maybe even 5, because I think Dial-In was my 5th. She's either my 4th or my 5th at this point, which normally me winning 1 50-50 is pretty rare, so yeah, that's gonna make getting the Void Hunter a little bit harder, but I'm hoping it'll be fine. Next up is Yishuan. I was kind of hoping for a Yishuan rerun this patch, so that way I could try to pull for Mindscapes on her and stuff, because I would like to try to get some, as I use Yishuan in things like Tower and all the in-game content and stuff, because she's really easy to play. You just spam counters and stuff, and it makes combat really easy, but fortunately, no rerun yet. But I do have a pretty solid build on my Yishuan. Could be significantly improved, so it's one of the major things that I'm working on my account right now is trying to improve all of my Rupture Agent builds, although that has been kind of thwarted a little bit by me pulling Dial-In, but once I get Dial-In built, I will go back to trying to build up my Rupture characters. Next up is Vivian, who I did get the outfit for from the event. I think that it's still ongoing. So yeah, just M0, W0. My Evelyn is M0, W1. I do have really good stats on my Evelyn, but I know a lot of people run like 4-piece Woodpecker on Evelyn, or there's actually another set that people run. Do I have any of it? I don't think so. There's like a 4-piece attack set that I know a lot of people run. It's not this one. Yeah, it's not these. But there's like a... It's like Hormone Punk or something like that. I know a lot of people run that on Evelyn instead. But I think that just the triple 2-piece is fine. And stuff. Like, still have really good stats. And my Evelyn's still able to clear stuff. I'm sure with Dylan, my Evelyn would be able to clear things a lot easier and stuff. Because Evelyn can use characters like Chufufu or Dylan really well. Don't have Astra, but still able to use Evelyn in a ton of stuff. Just because I think my build's really solid. Next up is Jane, who has a much less solid build, but I still use her occasionally in things whenever I need like a fight that normally you would bring like Alice into. I'll just bring in Jane because I don't have Alice. But yeah, just M0, W0. Might go for some investment on her in the future, but for now, I think she's kind of fine. I would hope that she would be one of the reworked characters. I think that she could have used one more than a character like Sandy, for sure, but um, yeah, I've heard that there will be some new ones coming out pretty soon, so I'm kind of interested to see what those will be um, and everything, but yeah. Maybe Jane will be in that group. And then next up is Miyabi, who is probably my most well-built character. Maybe my most well-built character in like any Horrorverse game. Definitely my most invested in character at M3 W1 and everything. And I still plan on pulling for more Mindscapes. Like I'm going to get Miyabi's M6 eventually. Just every time she reruns, I'm going to add one or two Eidolons. So eventually I will be getting her M6. But for now, she's only at M3. I mainly just wanted to get M3 on her previous banner just so that way I could get the profile background and stuff. But it is still a really good stat increase stuff. I'll probably be going for like M5 on the next one and then M6 rather than go for everything at once, but it'll kind of depend because I think M4 is still like a really good upgrade, but I could see M5 being a bit more impactful and stuff, and then M6 is like really big as well, but it is a lot of pools. It would be like doubling my Mindscape count. Not doubling my pools, but doubling my Mindscape count on my Miyabi currently, so there's a little bit more of an investment. And yeah, it would depend on how well in advance Miyabi's rerun is known and stuff, because currently there's not a set date, and I don't really want to just be holding on to stuff, but I'm probably not pulling for any of the idol faction characters, so that'll give me time to save up some pools for Miyabi, if nothing else, so yeah, and I don't know if I showed all the disk drives, but yeah, there are those. And then next up is Yanagi, who I use occasionally still and stuff, but I could definitely get a better build on my Yanagi than what I've got right now. I think Fusion Compiler is fine, but like the disk drives are kind of rough and need some work. Then next up is Orphe, one of my more recent characters and stuff. I do have all of her abilities maxed out. I think my Orphe build's pretty good, but could use some work. I need to check what it's at on Internet just to see where I can improve it and stuff. That's kind of the main reason that I use Internet, is just to see like what it rates my disk drives and stuff. And I haven't really checked with Orphe builds, so I do need to put that on at some point. But definitely some of these pieces are going to be a little hard to replace. I got a lot of really good Shadow Harmony pieces from the like very small amount of farming that I did in Shadow Harmony around the time of Sanby's release. So I kind of just happened to keep some around and stuff. But yeah, next up is Seed, who I have at M1 W1. I wasn't really planning on pulling for Seed's M1, but I got it like super early. At like, it might have been less than 20 pity or something like that. Like it was really early. I was planning on pulling her signature just because it gives you a ton of crit rate, and Seed is a character that needs a lot of crit rate. I even have crit rate here because of how much he needs, but it does have plus 3 crit damage, so it's definitely not bad. And I do use pen ratio on Seed, so that's why my attack is a little low. If I was using attack percent, probably could get it to 3k, which is about the recommended amount, but yeah. Still, not too bad of a build. And then next up is Sanby, another one of my more well-built characters. I do think that my Sanby reaches 100% crit in combat, I'm pretty sure. Got all of the abilities maxed out, and I've got pretty good Shadow Harmony pieces. She's M0W1. Yeah, I don't know if I think that Sanby didn't really need the buffs because my Sanby was super well built, because I haven't changed my Sanby build since then either. So I don't know if I just kind of thought the buffs were kind of unnecessary because my Sanby was already super well built, or if Sanby in general just didn't really need them. But I mean, I kind of felt like she was like, what, tier 1 character before the buffs, and now she's like a tier 0.5 character and stuff. So there's definitely some other characters I think could have used a little bit of a rework to improve their abilities and stuff. Someone like Bernice in particular. could have been one, or even like Caesar, because I accidentally click on her. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. I mean, Caesar kind of just does what she's designed to do, at least. So I can understand them wanting to make her a bit less clunky and stuff, but yeah, she's already a character that had received a like indirect patch or like indirect buff, kind of with the like. I guess that would be a direct buff because they changed the way that her dodging works and gave a bunch of polychromes and stuff back whenever she first released. But yeah, I don't know. With Dylan, I'm interested to see how that will impact my Sandy build and stuff because I know like Dylan and Seed are interesting characters to play with Sandy for sure. So I do want to try those out. And Orphe as well is another character that Sandy works really well with. But yeah, I know a lot of people use Trigger because that's kind of who was designed to work with Sandy and stuff, but I ended up skipping Trigger at the time. Might get her in the future, but I don't know. I do like off-field stunners, so there's that. And then next up is Bernice. I actually pulled Bernice in her rerun because I just didn't have enough pulls to get her at the time. Because I ended up pulling M1 Caesar super early while building Pity for Bernice, but yeah, and I think I had lost 50-50 on her banner as well. But yeah, now that I have Bernice, I don't really use her too much, but I do have a somewhat decent build on her, I think. But yeah, M0W0. And speaking of Caesar, my Caesar is M1 and then W of the event W engine, which I think works really well with Caesar and everything. And yeah, I have the old Caesar build. I don't know if there's like a new one that's a little bit better. I guess people use Impact more, but I think ER is fine. Stuff makes it where you can spam E a little bit easier. So not too bad. Then next up is Ellen. First limited character I got because she was the first limited character in the game, so I'm sure she was a lot of people's first limited. And I actually did end up winning the 50-50 on her initially. So that was like the first time I got a limited character first try in any of the gachas that I played. So not too bad. Yeah, I do have her signature, but my Ellen build in general is kind of bad. I do think Ellen is a really good character now with the buffs, and I do want to use her in more things, but the ice character competition is pretty fierce, especially on my account where I already have characters like Miyabi and Yidhari, especially. But I mean, if you also add in, what's their name? That's currently running. Hugo. I remembered it like right as soon as I clicked it, but yeah, if you add in Hugo onto that as well, then definitely some competition. I do think Ellen is a little bit easier to play than Hugo, at least, and I imagine E0S1 or E0 M0W1 Ellen would be better than M0W0 Hugo. It's currently running on the banner. I could have gotten him if I wasn't pulling for Dylan, but yeah. I still use Ellen like occasionally in like the anomaly arbitration like event that was in DZZ, or it was called like simulation something. I don't remember the exact name, but I did like a super long video on it a while ago where I cleared it all in like one sitting and it took like 2 hours or something like that. But yeah, curious if that will reset in the future. I think it is supposed to, but I think it's still got a while before it does. So I might go in and try to improve my score on that. But yeah, that's the Ellen build. And then Dylan. I actually have a pretty decent build on Dylan. I just need to get her to level 60 and stuff, which is kind of my current goal. Although I also need to do the daily runs of... there's currently an event going on right now that gives you double disk drive drops from doing things, so I do need to do that. And then I also need to improve my Dylan's skills, but I mean, outside of that, this is her second best in slot W engine, so I do have Hellfire Gears. I got it from the W engine selector during the anniversary, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, definitely not a bad build already. I kind of just worked on it a little bit today on stream since I pulled her earlier today and stuff. I had most of the pieces lying around, but I did have to craft the swing jazz pieces. And even then, Definitely need a little bit more crit rate on something like this, but it's kind of fine. And then my Monado build, whenever I play Monado, I usually swap around the W engine and stuff, but yeah, like in my recent Deadly Assault run, I used both Monado and Yidhari. I used Monado's signature on him, and I used Yishuan's signature on Yidhari. And then I think I also used my Yidhari's thing here, but maybe not actually. Oh yeah, maybe, because my Yidhari didn't actually swap that back and was supposed to. Yeah, so crit rate should be a little bit more accurate now on Yidhari. Should be a little bit higher than what it was, but yeah, did have to move some pieces around, but I did get him M6 on the previous banner and stuff, just because I did a lot of pulls on that banner to try to get Lucia's signature and Lucia as well, so yeah, ended up not having too difficult of a time getting him to M6. I'm hoping the same thing will happen with Yehoda on the banner in Genshin, but that's still to be seen. My Pan build's kind of sus in a lot of ways, but it gets the job done for whenever I used him. Now, I probably won't really be using it for too much longer, especially with Dial-In in existence, but I guess maybe. We'll see. With my Seth, I actually was kind of surprised that I didn't have this skill increase, because I actually use Seth not a lot, but occasionally. Yeah, as you can see, I moved some pieces around off of him because I had him on 5-piece swing jazz, but moved that to someone else, I guess probably Pan or something. But yeah, I used him whenever he came out quite a lot, and then eventually there were kind of better anomaly agent supports that ended up replacing him. But I did recently use him in that simulation thing that was kind of like anomaly arbitration, so because you had to use a lot of different characters and stuff. So I did use him in that, and he didn't do too bad. My Haramasa build is super sus, but I like never use them, to be fair. I did just like kind of build him just to have him built. Even then, he's not even properly built because I still need to improve the describes and stuff, but he is there, I guess. Sokaku, used to use her a lot. Now I haven't really used her at all recently, just because most of the time I play Miyabi, I play her with just a standard like anomaly build with Yuzuha and Vivian, but I did used to use Sokaku in that team, and you can still use Sokaku with like I think it's Yuzuha for the perma-freeze team and stuff, but yeah, kind of a decent build. Nothing too crazy. I'll probably end up swapping pieces off of my Sokaku, so that way other supports can use them in the future, because some of her pieces were pretty good, but yeah. Then next up is Soldier 11, who... whenever I do play Soldier 11, I just use the Brimstone on her and stuff, but don't really play her too much. She was my first standard character that I got. Do have her S1 or M1 W1, and I bet her somewhat leveled up on there. I think that her build overall is actually not that bad. Me using pin ratio back then was kind of interesting, because I know a lot of people use crit, but I feel like pin ratio is going to end up being like the better stat in the future for sure. Or like attack percent, since you can get a lot of crit rate on characters pretty easily, whereas stuff like pin ratio and attack percent is a bit harder to get. Yeah, me having 3,000 attack, I guess that's got to be with a... No, that's not even with attack percent. On there, I guess my soldier... Oh, no, it's because this is attack percent here. I was going to say, I guess my soldier 11 is kind of built different, but no, it's 30% attack, so it does make sense. And then Pulchra's someone that I use fairly regularly. I actually have a pretty decent build on Pulchra. I don't use King of the Summit on her. I don't think King of the Summit stacks, right? Yeah, it can't stack, so a lot of the time if I run her, it is as a second stunner, so having someone with 4-piece Astral is definitely not a bad alternative, because you do like perfect assist into, or quick assist into other people just by pressing your E or your ultimate. So definitely not a bad setup for Pulchra. And then kind of same thing with Lucy. With Lucy, I do run her signature on her. It's just I have this copy of Ren, or Arenas, and this copy of Arenas as well. So yeah, kind of a decent build, but could be better for sure. Honestly, this one was probably actually on my set if I had to guess. And then yeah, Grace isn't built. Kaleda, I used her signature on her, but I had to take it off so that way I could put it on my Dylan for now. But my Kaleda build's definitely not bad. I use her quite a lot actually, because she's really fast at stunning. And then yeah, if I just give her, I guess, this for now. That's what I used to use. Can kind of give you a preview of what the stats were, because I guess technically her signature also gives... No, it gives impact. I say it gives ER in that, but mostly gives impact, so just add a little bit of impact in your brain, and that'll be one of what's in. Is M1. So M1W1, technically, but currently at M1W0. And then Rena, I don't really use, but I do have her built. And then I just run her signature on her whenever I do play her. So I can just move that around. But I have multiple copies of her signature, so I kind of just need to build the other ones. I did actually choose her on the selector for a free standard character during the anniversary. I chose her, I believe, so that way I could get her Mindscape 1, because it makes her buff last kind of significantly longer. And everything, so not too bad. Makes her a little bit less awkward to play. Lygon, I don't really use too much, but I've been using him with Yidhari, like in my recent Deadliest Load clear and stuff. And he is the best partner for Yidhari, I'm pretty sure. Still, in terms of making Yidhari do the most damage. I mean, I think Dylan might be a little bit better. Just because Dylan's kind of busted, but do have him at M1, W1. Corrin was someone that I was going to build, and then I ended up pulling Seed, and then I ended up pulling Orphe, and then I ended up pulling Dylan, so it's kind of delayed my Corrin build, but I am still kind of planning on building her in the future, maybe, because she's actually not that bad of a DPS in the right teams and stuff. I think she'd definitely be interesting to play with a character like Seed, but yeah, or like Dylan. Probably a good partner for her, with them both being physical and everything. Same thing with Nakomiya, but yeah, my build on her is not great. And then Nicole, I've never really had a Nicole build. I've kind of just slapped some beads on her occasionally when I use her. But I know a lot of people use Nicole, and she is really good, but I don't know. I kind of just don't like having to continuously like swap back to her to maintain uptime on her debuff and stuff. And I'd rather just, press E on a character, swap off, and then focus on my main DPS. I kind of like on-fielding my main DPS a lot, so having to constantly swap back is not great. My NB used to be built, but it's not built. It never really built Piper. Okay, so yeah, we're getting into characters that I don't really play stuff. Never really built Piper, because I had Jane, but Piper is someone that you can build and is really decent. Kind of same thing with Billy in a way, but I'd probably recommend Piper over like any of the characters down here to build for sure. Kind of any of the characters down here except for Kaleda and Lycon to an extent, but if you have Yidhari, basically. But yeah, that's the ZZZ character builds. As far as the state of the account and like what I'm currently doing with my pull plans and like who I'm working on building, obviously I pulled Dylan today, as I said a few times, so I will be building her, and I'm currently working on building her. And then after I build Dylan, I will go back to trying to farm pieces for my Rupture characters with the Yunqui Tel set, because that also kind of farms for some of the Days characters as well, so really efficient farm. The other farm that I do a lot is the Branch Blade farm, because that also gets you Astral Voice, so both of them are really efficient. I've probably spent around like 60 hours of time in those areas combined, just farming them, and it takes me around 8 seconds to farm them, to give you an idea of how much I've farmed those areas and stuff, so that is where most of my batteries and stuff go. And everything, just because I don't really need to build any of the characters that are currently unbuilt on my account outside of Dylan at this point, so. And I don't really pre-farm for characters unless I, like, know 100% sure I'm going to be pulling them, and for most of my recent pulls, I haven't been 100%, so I've kind of been on the back foot and have been farming them and testing them and stuff well after their release. Like Yidhari and Orphe were characters that I was, and also Dylan, were characters that would have been nice for me to pull, but weren't entirely necessary, and I was kind of just pulling on their banners to build pity for upcoming characters, and hoping to lose 50-50 so that way I could guarantee an upcoming character and stuff and save up a ton of stuff for them, like maybe the Void Hunter, but yeah, kind of ended up not only getting them, but also winning the, like, 50-50s, and normally getting them early. Like, Orphe and, I think Yidhari were both super early. Dylan was, I said I was going to stop pulling when it was 20 away from guarantee, and Dylan was at 23 away from guarantee when I pulled her, so still fairly early, but not, like, super early. But as far as future pulling plans go, I am going to be saving up for the Void Hunter at this point. I don't have any polychromes because I literally just pulled Dylan with, like, the last of my polychromes earlier. I'm probably not going to build pity on the W Engine banner because I will be pulling the Void Hunter's W Engine as well, but yeah, I just want to kind of focus on building pity on this if I am going to, but I'm not going to be pulling anymore on the character banner until the Void Hunter comes out, most likely. Just because I don't really want M1 Dylan, although it probably is a pretty significant upgrade. I haven't even looked at it, to be fair. Yeah, it is a pretty good big upgrade, but yeah, I don't know. I'd rather just wait on the Void Hunter and stuff, so that's the current state of my account, is me farming for Dylan, farming for Rupture characters, and also doing a little bit of pre-farming for the Void Hunter around the time they come out. As I said, I'm not really planning on pulling the Idol faction, just because I don't really care for them too much. Unless any of the characters are, like, super meta. Like, if there's a support out of them that is incredibly busted, I will pull it, but outside of that, I don't really have any plans on pulling them, so after the Void Hunter comes out, I'll probably be able to save up a ton of polychromes until upcoming characters and stuff, so yeah, that ends the ZZZ section, so I'm gonna go to the Genshin section. So yeah, now it's time for the Genshin section. So Genshin is kind of in an interesting spot for me, I feel like. I didn't start playing Genshin whenever Genshin came out, unlike Serval and ZZZ, so my account has never really been, like, at the best state for the longest time. I wasn't even able to clear, like, not Memory of Chaos, but, the Spiral Abyss stuff, but now I can actually start clearing that. I've cleared, like, the last 4 Spiral Abysses, I believe. My exploration still isn't 100% in any of, or in, like, all of the areas, but there is a lot more of 100% exploration than the previous time that I did a Genshin account review, because I actually spent a week earlier this year called Genshin Week, like a few months ago, where I actually just sat down and tried to get as much exploration and stuff like that done as possible, like story quests and achievements and all that kind of stuff. And so it probably wouldn't take another Genshin week for me to be able to finish everything, but yeah, there's still areas like the Chasm, and I did do the Sea of Light areas, but there's like, where's it? Enkanomiya, that's the one I was thinking of, and there will probably be a new area in Notcry and stuff eventually, but I do have Notcry exploration done and everything. I've been trying to stay on top of the new exploration as it comes out. I didn't really have to do too much Natlan exploration in Genshin Week, and that was before Notcry came out, is whenever I did it. Stuff. I just kind of got some Liwa exploration just because the chests in Liwa are a lot less valuable than chests in other areas. And then Inkonomia is really annoying, so that's why I haven't done it. And it's going to take forever. And same thing with like Liwa and stuff. But I will be doing it eventually. But yeah, as far as achievements go in Genshin, I have a little over 1,100. So got quite a few of them. We're just over here in Fontaine. I figured I would do this area rather than the area that I stand in to pull characters in Fontaine, which was over here. That's where I pulled like Furina and stuff in one pity, so it is a pretty lucky spot for me, but thought this area was a bit more cinematic than that one. But yeah, as far as characters go, I pulled quite a few since the last time I've done one of these, but not a lot of them have changed builds too much. Like, I don't think my Furina build has changed, but I do have her C2. I don't know if I had it. I think I only had her C1 back then. But yeah, she is C2 now. That's probably where she's going to remain. Like, I might pull more constellations on Furina just because she's my favorite Genshin character, but I mean, she's kind of a lot of people's favorite Genshin characters, but not the only person I have constellations for, but was the first. He's the only person I have C2 and signature of. But yeah, with Xilonen, don't have her signature, but I do have Favonius, which I only have that Favonius on her for now. Which I'm kind of surprised by, because I've actually done some stuff with Furina, or I mean, with Xilonen recently, and I should have had this equipped that whole time, so I guess that's me not paying attention to my Xilonen build, but yeah, I will be triple crowning her eventually, but she's currently not triple crowned. But yeah, as far as the artifacts go, if you want to see the individual pieces of Furina real quick, and then the individual pieces of my Xilonen. So yeah, C2 on her as well. The next up is my Chiori. My Chiori is not really super well built because I haven't really worked on her build at all. I just gave her some pieces I had lying on my account. I think I might have crafted like some, not in the like artifact transmuter, but crafted like at the alchemy station. So not super well crafted or anything, but yeah, I pulled her on the recent rerun banner she has, and I pulled her to play her alongside Navia, but I've only played her alongside Navia on like one thing, and I made a YouTube short about it recently, and that's really the only time I've used my Chiori. So yeah, definitely a really good pull, I guess, but I do like Chiori as a character, so I don't really mind not using her too much. With my Navia, don't know why my Navia does not have on a circlet. Yeah, there we go. I guess there's that for Navia for the stats there. But yeah, normally I just use some crit rate circlet on her. Doesn't necessarily have to be this one, but it could even be like Tighnari's, I guess. Would probably be the one that I'm more likely to use on her. I just run her on 4-piece of the like attack set or whatever, the gladiator set and stuff. And then I have the battle pass weapon on her. No constellations or anything. I pulled her on a rerun as well. But I use Navia in situations where I need a Geo character because I didn't really have a good Geo character before I got Navia. My only option was like Xilonen. Now I have the issue with Cryo characters, but maybe I'll be able to get it fixed soon. We'll see. Kazuha, never really use him anymore. He was my first limited character, and he was like super good whenever I pulled him. But now there's not really a reason to use him over Xilonen like 99% of the time. But do have him somewhat built for now. I definitely need a different kind of everything on my Kazuha. The pieces kind of move around between my Viridescent users, so that's why his build's not great. kind of same thing with Jean. Like, I would just normally move pieces from character to character. I do have her on Skyward Blade because I got that pretty recently. She's C1. I got her C1 in a selector. I'm pretty sure. Or no, the selector I used for someone else. I lost a 50-50 to get the C1. I forgot about that. But yeah, I did get her C1 pretty recently. Stuff, so. Yeah, I use Jean with like Furina sometimes just because her healing is really good. See, Lolly, not one of my better built characters, but has a decent build. The only Natlan character I have that doesn't have a constellation, because the main reason that I pulled for Natlan character constellations wasn't necessarily because they become better with constellations, but it was honestly because it gives them Night Soul extension, so. And because that doesn't really apply with Sea Lolly, I was far less incentivized to do it, just because I do really like the Night Soul effects. Makes just getting around to doing stuff in the overworld way easier. But most of the time it also buffs the characters pretty significantly too, so it's not just the Night Soul, but it is larger than I would like to admit. The Night Soul causing me to pull for stuff like that. My Flynn's build is okay. I definitely can work on it a bit more. He is C0R1. With the introduction of Nodcry and kind of the end of Natlan, I started to pull for characters' signatures more and stuff, because before I would not really pull for character signatures at all. And I only had Furina's because pulling on the signature weapon banner feels terrible in Genshin, and it still does feel terrible, but whenever I got a Nefas relatively easily, that kind of made me want to get Flynn's, and then I lost 75-25 on Flynn's. Or I guess it's like a 75-25 and a 50-50, right? So, yeah, it's just not a fun time, but I was able to get it eventually. With the Nefas, I didn't have any issue, though. Same thing with Furina's, so that is why I have their signatures, and I'm probably pulling for Columbina and her signatures whenever I pull for Columbina, because that's the next Nodcry character I plan on pulling, so yeah. Neither of these characters are triple crowned yet, but I will be triple crowning both Flynn's and Anefa. I pulled Flynn's for my Anefa because I had Anefa and didn't really know what I was supposed to do with her. Whenever I pulled her, I kind of just pulled her on a whim. But I do really like Anefa's playstyle and stuff with like the shield and being able to get Lunar Charge and stuff. I would play her with my why am I forgetting Nouvelette's name? But yeah, I play her with Nouvelette whenever she came out and stuff, but now I mostly just play her with Flynn's. My Sino is not really well built, and I don't really use him in anything, but I will be getting his C1 on the selector. At least that's currently the character that I'm planning on getting. So I will probably improve my Sino build whenever that happens, but yeah, I do like Sino as a character. I kind of pulled him on a whim as well whenever his last rerun, or I think there was a rerun before his last rerun, is when I pulled Sino, but I haven't really used him very much, but I do plan on building him eventually. He's just kind of, there's kind of been some things that come up every time that I go to build Sino that have stopped me from building him, but I do want to build him. My Raiden is currently not built because I moved her pieces onto other characters that I actually use, because I don't really use Raiden very much. But I do like Raiden as a character, and I probably will rebuild her eventually. But yeah, C0, triple crowned. No signature. Keiching does have a pretty good build. I still use Keiching occasionally, because I do still really like Keiching as a character and stuff. She's up to C3 now. I think she was C2 last time I did one of these, but she's triple crowned as well. Yeah, some interesting things happened with Keiching since the last time I did one of these as well. On to Nefer. Nefer is one of the recent characters and everything that I've been working on since she is my most recent limited character. I am just using free-to-play weapon on her, and I also got Nefer without getting Llama, which is kind of a controversial decision. I probably will end up pulling Llama on her rerun, but for now I'm just running her kind of solo in a way. I mostly just run her with Aino, uh, Nahida, and Kokomi is how I run my Nefer. But I partially pulled Nefer because I wanted her to synergize a bit more with Nilou, but there's kind of some issues with playing them together that's made it a little bit annoying, but it's still fine. I'll be able to make it work in the future and stuff, maybe. But yeah, for now it's a little bit hard to play them together. Once I get Llama, that could change though. And then my I'll Hate Them has a build. I don't think he's super well built right now, but whenever I play him, I usually just move pieces around. Like I'll probably just end up moving like one of these around, but I do have like, that. So I've farmed that area where you get their artifacts quite a lot, but because it's just a really efficient area to farm in and stuff, but still can use some improvements on him and everything. Next up is Nahida, who I do have triple crown. I think she's my most recent character that I finished triple crowning. I have an okay build on her. Like, I think this piece is really good. It's got a ton of crit rate, but yeah, definitely could still have a lot of improvements with my Nahida, and she is C0. But I do like Nahida's playstyle stuff, so yeah. Tighnari, I don't really use ever. Yeah, I don't even think really showcasing his build is worth, because anytime that I have Tighnari on field, it's literally just to be able to find stuff in Sumeru. So, my Mualani, on the other hand, does have a pretty good build. Was, I believe, the first Natland character that I got. I think she was the first limited character in Natland to get. Got her C1 as well. I got her C1 like pretty early, and that's what kind of influenced my decision of getting a ton of C1s for Natland characters and stuff. I could crown her ultimate here, but I'm not going to, because her ultimate is, well, if you've ever played Mualani, you know the tracking on Mualani's ultimate is definitely something that is not worth investing in, but yeah, overall, a pretty solid character. I still use her occasionally, but it's a bit hard to find situations to use her nowadays. Stuff, but when I can, I do. And then, same thing in a way with Nouvelette. Definitely haven't used him as much as in the past, recently. But I do have his basic attack crowned. I didn't really bother with crowning these because their damage output's kinda not really existent, but I did get them to level 6, I guess. Next up is Kokomi. Kokomi is one of my early limited characters and has been around on my account forever. Don't have any constellations for her and stuff, and I kind of have considered getting constellations for her with the selector, but it's not really until C2 where she pops off. Kind of the same thing with Nilou, but Nilou was a new character for me whenever that came out because I pulled her on the rerun thing, and yeah, I still feel like I could probably get more out of C2 Nilou than C2 Kokomi, but I mean, maybe that could change in the future, I don't know. And then Tartaglia was the first character I ever got a constellation of a limited character in any gacha game, because I ended up getting his C1 and C0 on the same 10 pull back whenever I pulled on his banner during a rerun. And yeah, I haven't really used him very much since then. I just give him my Navia pieces if I do play him. And then as far as bow options go, I usually run Amos, but I can also run like Skyward Harp, I guess. But yeah, I just don't really have a very solid build for Tartaglia, and I didn't even have him level 90 until like 3 weeks ago, maybe. I was just like, oh, my Tartaglia is only level 80. I should probably level him up to 90. So I did that. That was kind of a recent thing. I I think it was a little bit more than 3 weeks ago, but yeah, it was like not that long ago because I still remember doing it. So, uh, yeah. Next up is Mavwika, who I think is my best built character as far as like the substats on her stuff goes. Uh, very broken character. I do have her C1. I probably will get her R1 in the future whenever she reruns, and her C2. So she'll be my first DPS that I get to C2 R1 in Genshin. But yeah, just a very strong, overpowered character and stuff. And I do like Mavwika as a character a lot. I know a lot of people don't like Mavwika as a character just because of how she was written in the story and stuff. But I think she has an interesting story. And there's also just like a lot of hate to Natlan in particular and stuff for a lot of different reasons. But yeah. Personally, I like the way that Mavwika was in the story and stuff. There definitely could have been some better ways to write her and stuff, but as far as her like playstyle goes, I do need to actually sit down at some point and learn how to play Mavwika properly, because most of the time I just press E, get on the motorcycle, and hold left click, which is not how you actually do Mavwika rotations. So I do get comments of people seeing my Mavwika and saying that I actually need to learn rotations, and I do, but I also don't really care about Genshin endgame that much and kind of just do it to clear the content, and I can clear the content without knowing the rotations, so I mean, there's not really a reason for me to learn them at the same time, but it would make things a little bit easier, I guess. And then Hu Tao, I pulled on her most recent rerun just because I kind of do like Hu Tao, but honestly, her playstyle does suck. I'm not gonna lie. I did crown her basic attack instead of her. I thought that her basic attack would be what you crown because that's what you hold down, but apparently you're supposed to crown the skill first. But I probably will end up triple crowning her, and then eventually I might go for her C1, but like, I don't know. It's definitely not a bad C1. I've still got time to decide between her and Sino for the C1s, but I think you can get 3 characters constellations before the reset happens, and then you can choose a character that you've already chosen previously after the 3rd one. So yeah, that's when I'll go for C2 Nilou. But yeah, if I don't go for Hu Tao's C1 with this current free constellation, it will definitely be the next free constellation. As far as the Traveler build goes, the only one I have built is the Dendro Traveler, although I'm currently on the Pyro Traveler. I do have, like, some levels in their stuff, but, like, I never use the Pyro Traveler in anything, to be honest. They're just on the Pyro thing because it makes sense in the story for them to be on Pyro, and I just leave them on that. But it's not like I would ever use the Dendro Traveler in anything anymore because I have Nahida, so I just don't really use the Traveler very much. Noelle, I don't use. No reason to show her build, to be honest. Yahoda is someone that I'm starting to build, because she's my most recent character, and she's a 4-star character and stuff, so I need to go back and farm Viridescent. I farmed Viridescent quite a lot, but my Viridescent builds still are pretty terrible, so need to go back into the mines for that, but I've been working on getting Yahoda to level 90, which I did end up doing today, so yeah, that's why I haven't really started working on anything else with her build just yet, but I am currently working on building her. I've heard that she's kind of just okay until you get like C6, and then she's a bit more than okay, but still kind of just okay. But yeah, it'll be a while before I get her C6 for sure, because I only just recently got like Kave, and I was missing him forever, and now I'm missing Yeonsan as the only 4-star character I'm missing, who is also like one of the most broken 4-stars that's come out recently, but it's fine. I'll get it eventually. Sucrose, I think that my Yahoda stole some of my Sucrose pieces, but yeah, I use Sucrose with my Flens, Anefa, and Ino build because she's the best 4th slot for that team, but yeah, currently she's not built, but I can move around pieces whenever I need to use her. I've been using Yahoda in the overworld over Sucrose just because I do need a healer. And Yehoda is actually better than Sucrose at C6 Yehoda, I think. But C6 Sucrose might be better than C6 Yehoda in that team. I'm not entirely sure what the math is on that, but yeah, Rosaria is the character I use for Cryo character as a DPS because he's the closest thing I have to a Cryo DPS. My next best option would be my Seat Lolly, which isn't really an option. I've recently got her C6 at least, so I mean, I guess there's that, so she does a little bit more physical damage. I wanted to build her as a physical DPS whenever I built her, because I built her fairly recently, but the main issue with building her as a physical DPS is that doing anything with physical characters in 2025 and probably 2026 is a massive meme, so definitely not doing that. Next up is Cookie Shinobu, who I use occasionally in Hyper Bloom teams, and that's kind of it. I'm pretty sure she... Does she have slaps on relics, or... Okay, no, she has an actual build. But it's not like a super great build, but it is a build that I have. My Shinobu is only C2 anyway, so still needs a little bit more constellations and stuff. With my Fischl, I finally got her C5 recently, and soon I will get C6 Fischl. I think there's currently an event that gives you a selector, so I will be using that for my Fischl. Most of the time with Fischl, I run Skyward Harp, but currently it's on my Yehoda just for testing purposes and stuff, but yeah, this is currently my Fischl build at the moment. I mostly run her in teams with Shivers for Overload, but yeah, mostly run her with Caging and stuff, and that's the like Overload team. You can also run like Anefa as an Overload character. Stuff like I did one team with Fischl, Mavuika, Chevers, and Anefa as an Overload team, and it wasn't bad. So definitely some options with Fischl still. I'm sure she's really good with like Durin, who just came out in the Overload team and stuff. But yeah, you have to swap off Official because she's going to Yap if not. So next up is Aino, who I just have built a little bit. I know that Aino is a temporary unit until Columbina comes out, so I haven't really bothered with building her too much, but she is kind of a fun unit to play because she's pretty straightforward in what you need to do, at least. But yeah, I don't even really have like a super good build on Aino, just because it's very temporary. Once Columbina comes out, Aino will be gone, unfortunately. But yeah, for now, decent build. My Qingchuo is not really built. I need to build him at some point, but I just have so many Hydro characters, it's kind of hard for me to justify building Qingchuo instead of building some of my other elements and stuff. Yeah, Chevroos. Whenever I do play Chevroos, I usually give her the level 90 Fav lamps that I have currently on them. But yeah, pretty interesting character, I think. I definitely want to try to get more constellations of her, because I do like the way that Overload plays with her and stuff, but yeah. Not too interesting of a build, though, just because all you really need to do is just stack as much HP as possible. HP and energy regen. Bennett. My Bennett build's okay. Definitely need to get some sort of, like... I mean, I probably should swap to Skyward Blade and get a level 90 Skyward Blade and swap that over Prototype, because that would give me more base attacks, so that would technically be an upgrade on my Bennett. And that would also fix some of his energy recharge issues. It's still not the best in slot option, but it is better than what I've got. But yeah, Bennett is Bennett. I keep my Bennett at C5, and I still don't plan on C6ing my Bennett just because it messes up with Keqing's playstyle, and I play Keqing pretty frequently still, so that's why I will never C6 Bennett, even though the general consensus now is that most people do have Bennett C6, because it is really useful with a lot of characters to actually have him C6. But it also is very bad to have him C6 with certain characters, so... is my Shuangling belt? I mean, my Shuangling belt's okay. I move a lot of pieces around of my emblem set, so That's why I don't really know if she's properly built, but not bad pieces. I recently got her C6 like a few months ago, so at least I do have her C6 now. She reruns pretty frequently, so it's not too difficult to get Xiangling built, but yeah, got the new outfit and stuff for her too. Same thing with Bennett. So that's a bit different. Nilou, level 80. I still need to build Nilou and stuff. But yeah, got her C1 from the selector thing, and I pulled her on the recent rerun thing they did for some error characters, but yeah, I haven't really had a good chance to use her and stuff because I still need to build her, but I'm like permanently building characters in Genshin because there's a lot of characters I need to build. So yeah, it'll be a while. With Dea, I actually do have Dea built whenever I have this equipped. There we go. Yeah, I do have Dea built because you can actually play Dea with Mualani and stuff, so. And my Dea is recently C3 because I recently lost to 50-50, so. Recently got her to C3. Eventually I will get her to C6 at this point, but I don't really mind because Dea is kind of an interesting character. Not a good character, but an interesting character. Diluc I don't have built. Even if it says I have artifacts on him, he's not built. So don't trust that. Same thing with Lynette. Are any of the characters down here going to be built? Probably not. Yeah. I will say I occasionally use Yao Yao, even though her build is like this. Just because Dendro Healer is not a bad thing to have. I used to use Layla occasionally, but I guess I moved all the stuff to Seal Holly. And then I use Farazan occasionally and just give her Animo stuff because I do have her C6, so occasionally she's useful for certain character builds. I want to build this character and try them out and stuff, but I haven't really had a chance to. And they're not exactly super high on the priority list, so yeah, I don't know. I've only got C1. GG. I'd rather get Dea constellations than Chi-Chi. I will say that much about the Dea constellations. So, it's not too bad. But yeah, that's the current state of the... Okay. You know. I will say that's the current state of the Genshin accounts. So, if you just wanted to see the state of my Warriorverse accounts, that's all of the character builds. As far as future pull plans go, I've been pulling on Venti's banner for Yehoda copies. If I get Venti, that's also fine with me because I do want to get all the Archons eventually, but I'm mostly trying to pull more copies of Yehoda and also build Biddy for Columbina's banner. Like, after the Venti banner is over, I'm probably not pulling until Columbina's banner starts, which probably isn't until next year, but yeah. That's all the future pull plans there for now, so yeah, if you're just here for the Warriorverse stuff, that's all done. I've still got one more game I want to show, which is Chaos Zero Nightmare, because I will most likely still be playing this game next year, because it is a really fun game, and I've been playing it a lot on stream and stuff, so... it is fairly new, so my account's not super advanced there, but I would like to just go ahead and include it in the video, just because it'll be fun to look back in like a year's time from now and see what my account was like then versus now, so... yeah, just because of how that game works, I'm kind of interested in seeing that, so... yeah, if you're interested in seeing that, that will be the next part of this video, but yeah, I'm gonna go start recording that now. Okay, so yeah, for the Chaos Zero Nightmare, currently the Forbidden Catalyst event is going on, so I've been doing a lot of runs in the Forbidden Catalyst to try to get a ton of character builds and stuff, with save data and stuff, just because there's like a limited exclusive chaos area to run in currently. I don't know if it will be permanent after the event or whatever, so trying to do as many runs as I can. And I've got quite a few of the characters. I am still missing, I think, 3 of the yeah, I'm missing 3 of the 5-star characters that are not limited characters, although currently there hasn't been any truly limited characters, as Haru and Yuki and Chizuru eventually will have moved to the standard banner, so they're not really limited characters, but I've gotten all of the rate-up characters so far. With Haru, I got her all the way up to M3, so I got 3 additional copies of her. This is my current main Haru build. As far as save data goes, I did get it earlier today. It is pretty solid. I do have like a minimal Haru build as well somewhere. Yeah, like this. Also not a bad option. But I couldn't get rid of this power anchor because of the way that I did my save data, unfortunately, so I wasn't able to get it super great, and I could have got one more copy of Anchor Shot, but it didn't give me the option, so I had to go with Power Charge, but I got really good equipment and really good just kind of cards in general, so I couldn't really say no to having an extra Power Charge. It's not like having the extra Power Charge is too bad anyway, because it's got the combo effect, so it's definitely not a bad card. This is my... and then the stats on my Haru. And I am using her partner that she was running alongside with. That was also a rate-up partner, not a limited. And I do have her potential maxed out. As far as the memory fragments go, they're not too great, but they work. With Meilin, a little bit better memory fragments in some ways, but the subsets are kind of worse. Sure. I do have a decent save data on her. I do have her like M1, but I don't have very many copies of her. As far as partners go, I'm running Lillian, because I think Lillian's pretty good. Although you can also use like Douglas is what people are mainly running on her, I'm pretty sure. I like Lillian just because she covers some AoE damage and also has searching, so it's not too bad. With Renoa, I recently got a build on her today as well, because I did a ton of Codex runs today, trying to get some better builds for my characters and stuff, so I got a pretty decent Renoa build going. Still need to work on the potential. Memory fragments are kind of all over the place. I haven't really had much of a chance to farm for memory fragments, because I've been so busy leveling up characters and partners and stuff, but yeah, so I do have her M1. With Yuki, also recently got some pretty good save data for her the other day. I definitely need to try to get a better run, because there's still a lot of room for improvement on the save data. Got Westmacott, which was her rate-up partner. I have most of her potentials leveled up, but still missing a few. She has my best memory fragments out of any of the characters I have, because I did craft a ton of pieces for her at the time. And then I also got her M1 with a free selector. And then here's the Chizuru build. Currently, still needs some work. I use the Battle Pass partner with her, because I think it works really well. Needed to try to get triple Tsukiyomi, but I did end up getting double Karmic Flames, which is kind of a fine alternative, although it doesn't really work like how I thought it would, unfortunately. But yeah, there's kind of builds that you can do with Chiori that, like, you want to get rid of, like, the Moon Slashes and stuff, but I kind of need the additional hits most of the time that I'm playing her, so I think that it's fine to run the Moon Slashes. It just kind of depends on how you have her built and stuff. Yeah, don't have any copies, but I am pulling on her banner right now to try to get some, or a copy of her, potentially. If not, I'll at least have pity built for the next character's banner. And then next up is Tressa, who I just got a super good build with today. Currently at 23% damage over time damage. I just run Eloise with her for now. But yeah, I just got this good triple Shadow Reload setup, and I also got rid of the basics in this. With my previous setup that I was using, which was this one here, I still had the basics around. This build's pretty much the exact same, it's just got better equipment, and the basics are a little bit better. Or, the basics being gone is a little bit better, and also the Unsheathed Dagger upgrade is better because it's just the great 4 Shadow Daggers, which I think is better just because you don't really need to constantly be drawing them or whatever, just because you can get them from healing and stuff and just focusing on that. And I also think this curse is better than the previous one that I had as an upgrade. My barrel build's kind of okay. I use her with Haru occasionally, but still need some work. And then, yeah. Pretty much anyone else from here, it's not really going to have anything notable in their memory fragments, like Rei kind of has some going. I recently improved her save data pretty significantly with this build, although there's kind of a lot of different ways that you can build Rei, so I need to start trying to get them all, like, specialized and stuff, rather than just going for, like, a generally good build and then having draws and stuff. Like, I need to kind of focus on, like, having a dedicated draw one and a dedicated void damage, dedicated 1 card damage, or 1 card or less damage, things like that, builds going. But yeah, then next up is Keiron. I haven't really used Keiron in a while, but I did run Keiron a lot whenever the game came out. Just play like I did M1 super early, and its M1 is really busted, because it gives you a ton of utility cards and stuff, so yeah. Recently pulled Veronica with the 300 pool selector, and so I've been trying to get her built, but yeah, kind of not really much to say about her build at the moment. With Nia, I recently did a run with her and got a decent build, but yeah, I kind of need to do a lot more runs and try to improve this more, because I should have got rid of like amp therapy and stuff, but I just wasn't able to with the fate memory constraints. And getting this copied and stuff would be better as well. Yeah, currently working on building her a little bit as well. With Mika, I get a decent build today in terms of the TB, although outside of it being really high TB, that's kind of the only thing it has going for it. And like this is a pretty good effect in this one as well, but like probably could focus on a build like this instead to focus on healing. Because I mostly play her with Tressa. And then Cassius, kind of the same thing. Cassius has a ton of different build options, so it's kind of hard to say that there's like one super good build for him, kind of like with Tressa, so kind of need to go in and get some more specialized builds for Cassius and stuff. And then anyone below Cassius I haven't really done too much with, and do want to try in the future, but haven't really had time to get a good build for most of them. Like, I have, like, a Mara build, I guess, but yeah. Definitely need to try to build them up in the future, because every character in this game is really interesting, in my opinion, just because of the way that the Epiphany system works, and being able to have a ton of variety in your builds. Just like all of the Epiphany cards having 5 different versions, and then they can have different Divine Epiphanies with different secondary effects on them as well. And then you have equipment playing into that. You have what you need to duplicate, what you need to remove, who you're playing with. What enemies you plan to face with the builds can also like affect how you want to build your save data and stuff. So I think this game is just really interesting, and I'm hoping that I'll be sticking with it a year from now and stuff whenever I sit down to record another one of these, but maybe not. If not, it's at least something that I'm doing as of December 13th, 2025, going into December 14th, 2025 in 10 minutes, so yeah. That is the state of my current gachas and everything that I play on stream, so yeah, I should have these time-stamped as well with every character, hopefully, although that is going to take some time to do. I'll try to get that done tonight at least, so that way I don't put it off, but we'll see. Since I have to go in and edit this and stuff as well. But yeah, I just get a lot of questions about like what build do I have for X character and X game that I'm playing, so I just kind of wanted to sit down and record a video with some timestamps just to point people, because my builds probably aren't going to change too much for the Hoyoverse games, but obviously for this game the builds are going to be like infinitely changing and everything all the time. It's literally like, this is my best horror build as of today, as of yesterday. Like this one was my best horror build, or like this one maybe. So yeah, it kind of just like depends on the day. of which horror build is gonna end up being the best. And same thing for like literally every character right now. It's gonna be a while before the save data is at a point where it's gonna be really, really hard for me to upgrade, and I'll have to spend like weeks grinding for slight improvements and stuff like that at the moment, which I think is what makes this game really fun for me right now, is just the amount of build variety and stuff. But yeah, that's where I'm going to end things for now though. So yeah, guys, hope to see everyone in the next one.